This episode is brought to you by Wise. Wise is the app for international people using money around the globe. With Wise, you can send, spend, and receive up to 40 currencies with only a few simple taps and save up to 55% compared to major banks. Plus, Wise won't add hidden fees to your transfer. Whether you're buying souvenirs with pesos in Puerto Vallarta or sending euros to tip your Colosseum tour guide, you know you're getting a fair exchange rate with no extra markups. Be smart. Join the 15 million customers who choose Wise. Download the Wise app today or visit wise.com. Learn more by visiting wise.com/US/compare. T's and C's apply. This episode is brought to you by Window Nation. October is here, and so is the return of chilly air seeping into your home. That is, if you have old, stuck, or cracked windows. Eliminate annoying drafts once and for all with top-quality replacement windows from Window Nation. And this month, when you buy 2 windows, you get 2 free. There's no limit to how many windows you replace, and your total price includes 1-day installation. Get started on your free estimate before October 31st to save big on replacement windows. Schedule a fast free estimate now with the pros at Window Nation. Visit windownation.com for more information. That's windownation.com.
Today on CityCast Denver, after years of rapid growth, rents in Denver have somehow miraculously stabilized, and some are even going down. But at the same time, evictions are set to break records again this year, and now Mayor Johnston is slashing the budget for eviction defense? Zach Newman of the Community Economic Defense Project joins me today to explain what the budget cut means for the people his organization supports, and speculate about the future of the local rental market. Today is Thursday, October 2nd. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Hey, before we get to the show today, I'm here to remind you about our fall membership campaign, but not just remind you, to warn you that there are only 48 hours left to get that sweet Neighbors Make Denver tote bag. We're at the very end of this fall membership campaign, and we really need your support. And I'm here with producer Olivia Jewell to explain why.
I'm here. Hey guys, we only got 48 hours left to reach our goal and crush the hopes and dreams of all the other CityCast cities. Not really.
So why?
I mean, it's a network. We love all the other cities, but we just want to win. We want to win. But
their hopes and dreams are important too. They're the same as our hopes and dreams. We want Portland to be strong. We just want it to be less strong than Denver.
We just want to win, and that's why you're listening.
But people have heard us make this pitch before. They know that they're going to get the tote bag. They know that they're going to get the ad-free podcast listening. They know they're going to get the exclusive members-only events preview email every Monday. But Olivia, tell them something new. Why should they join?
I mean, I guess let's pull back the curtain. How many times have we said that this week? Wow.
Let's put the curtain. Well, we put it back every day.
We put it back.
We pull the curtain back.
We're going to pull it up in a little bit more. So
yeah.
I mean, you're hearing me right now. You're hearing me and Paul. That's because Bree is sick, and we're on such a small team. There's only 4 of us editorial people making stuff every day. Now there's only 3 of us, and so that makes it even harder to do this job. And we are stretched even thinner.
And that's why we need your help,
because we are such a small team. We are operating on a razor thin margin. And, if you want us to stick around and exist in the future for you and, maybe grow and get bigger and, we're the household podcast name, you have to support us because we are busting our ass out here. Just the small crack team of us, and we need the help from our neighbors because there are a bunch of you. You are in our inbox every day. You are sending us messages every day of support and, fair criticism and sending us funny leads and jokes and lots of stuff. And that's amazing. But we also need fiduciary support.
And we do, because if we don't have it, we're not going to last forever. There's not going to be anyone else talking about whether or not there's a rat infestation on Larimer Square or there's a really smelly smell up at that Little Man Ice Cream in Low-High. And if we don't have your support, there's a chance this thing all goes away.
I mean, who else can you just text and be like, hey, it smells like farts on 16th Street Mall. What is that? Who else?
And we're like, on
Who
it.
else can you
I'm
text
there.
besides like your buddy? Like, we actually have the journalism chops to go figure out what the hell's going on, and we will, because that's a real problem in this city. The fart smell, first of all,
One of many, yes.
but we're committed to finding out the truth.
It might not be our top priority. Today, for example, we might be talking about eviction defense instead, a very important and serious topic that we jumped on pretty short notice when we're short-staffed in order to bring you the most relevant, most important information about your city right now. So join today. We need your support. Like we said, we're only 48 hours left, and it's the only chance you're going to have to win that sweet $250 gift card to Bonanno Concepts, which is good at any of their restaurants: Mizuna, Luca, Salita, Dumplin'. I'm going to look up how to say Salita before our membership campaign recording tomorrow, I promise, or the Vesper Lounge. So join today at membership.citycast.fm. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. Membership.citycast.fm. Zach Newman, welcome to CityCast Denver.
Paul, thanks for having me. Great to be on this morning.
Happy to have you. I want to hear this story that you all went through last Friday. I want to start there. You and your colleagues got what sounds like it was a pretty scary letter from the city of Denver.
Yeah, so it was last Thursday, and we basically got a stop work order for TRUA, which stands for Temporary Rental and Utility Assistance. Email came in mid-afternoon and basically said, stop all work, stop all payments. We contacted the other nonprofits in Denver who run that program, and they had gotten the same note. And we were scrambling, trying to figure out what was going on.
Tell me about what this money was for in the first place. What is your relationship with the city that was changing?
Yeah, so the TRUA program was created a number of years ago to provide emergency financial assistance to, as the name denotes, help families that either can't pay the rent, can't pay their utilities. Often those two things go together. Because the city has been in such a moment of crisis around evictions in 2023 and in 2024, there was a lot of work to expand the budget. So in 2024, that budget went up to $30 million. And then this year in 2025, the budget has been approximately $23 million.
So what is this stop work order? What does that mean?
Yeah, basically the stop work order means stop all payments. Anyone who's in the pipeline in the city of Denver receiving payments to prevent their eviction, don't pay it, stop working the case, and then also stop providing supportive services that go along with those payments.
And then what does that mean for the actual people that you work with? Does that mean like someone who would otherwise have been getting support to pay rent this month is not going to be able to pay rent this month?
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's functionally what the order said. And a really intense moment for our team because, as you would expect, folks had gone through the random selection process, which determines whether you're, going to be eligible to even apply. They had successfully completed that. They were working on their applications. And the folks we were serving had a lot of confidence that they were going to get help, they were going to keep their homes. And suddenly you have to convey the very bad news that actually, no, these payments have been paused and we're not going to be able to help you.
Tell me about those conversations. How did that go? How did that feel?
Some conversations by phone, some emails. The one that stood out the most to me, we got an email from a city employee, single mom, 3 kids. A family member had just died and she had to pay for funeral expenses and had spent, all the money she had paying for that, which is obviously really unexpected and really hard. Couldn't pay rent, fell behind on her rent, had applied for TRUA, made it through the random selection, which not everyone does, had all her documents ready, and was just really hopeful that this money would stabilize her and her kids, and had to reach out to her and say, like, no, actually, you're not going to receive help. I don't know what to tell you. This is like very, very hard, but CDP and the city and county of Denver and the TRUA program aren't going to be able to help you.
Oh my God. This is a city employee. So she just made it through these layoffs that the city had to do. And now, I mean, I know because I've read a little bit about this, that this cut has something to do with the overall city budget issues that the mayor's trying to address. But boy, this person must feel like they can't escape right now. So what is going to happen?
Well, I would say in the case of this person, it's just one of these situations. And Paul, you see this all the time with eviction. I think one of the biggest misconceptions in town about eviction is that people aren't working. I think like virtually every one of our clients has a job. They often have 2 jobs, but it's really expensive to live here. Most people can't comfortably afford rent. And so you're one funeral away or one flat tire away or one sick kid away from like not being able to pay your rent and being in this eviction system where you're racing to find resources and fighting the eviction timeline, which moves very, very quickly.
Hmm. So I just want to get back to the logistics so we can try to understand what the mayor is thinking with this cut. Because this, I mean, it seems like this is having a very direct, acute impact on a number of people's lives. I can't imagine he wanted to make this choice. But what I've read is that he's shifted this $9 million from this year, the Trua money, to next year. So there's going to be some budget for next year. But what are you seeing in the tea leaves here? Like, can you help me understand what that actually means? Is this a shift in priorities? Just help me understand this.
Yeah, so I mean the city budget is in trouble, as I think everyone knows, and I think the mayor is being forced to make some incredibly tough choices. I don't envy his choices. I wouldn't want to have to make them. I think it's an incredibly hard job, and I don't know. It's just a really tough moment for the city, and I respect that, and I see that, and I think it's important to acknowledge how hard this is. I think what the city is trying to do here is to underspend the program by 9 million in 2025 so that they can then only spend 3 million in 2026 funds, pair them with a $9 million carryover and have $12 million for this program in 2026. What that means on a forward basis is that this program is being slashed by 90% in 2026, but by distributing that 90% cut across 2 years, pulling forward those 2025 funds, you see less of a spend down or less of a cut in the spending available for this program.
This is some very fancy math, and it reminds me of this quote I saw in Denverites reporting on this from Councilman Sarah Parody, who's been on the show a few times. But I wonder what you make of this. She said, so this is a quote from Denverite: "Shifting money around to make it appear that the city is not drastically cutting rental assistance dollars next year is, quote, prioritizing optics over human beings," Parody said. What do you think she means by that?
I don't want to characterize Councilmember Parody's remarks because I think they speak for themselves. What I would say is we are in the midst of an eviction crisis. People are really up against the wall. It's folks who work at the city of Denver or are nurses or firefighters or teach in our schools, and we have not yet gotten our arms around this crisis. And when we take money away from these households and these families, we immediately see the consequences. And we're seeing that now with the stop work order.
Help me understand this evictions crisis. Like, I've seen the charts. The numbers are horrifying. Like, it doesn't even look like it's a pandemic story to me. It looks like we have now surpassed the pre-pandemic levels of addiction. They're almost double this year. And we're going to break records again for the second year in a row. Why is this happening?
I'll situate us in the numbers really quick and then try to offer the best explanation I can. I think folks disagree on that, but 2024, 16,000 eviction filings, a new record high for the city of Denver, going up each year from 2020 on. This year, as of the end of September, we're at 12,000, and we probably surpassed last year's number by, call it 500 to 1,000 evictions. So if I had to guess, I would say we'll have 16,500 to 17,000 filings. 98% of these cases are for the non-payment of rent. And I think it's a really simple story. Rent is too expensive in the city and people's wages haven't caught up. And when you can't pay your rent, the way that landlords collect that debt and enforce those payments is through the use of the eviction system.
Well, I have to share one of the other explanations you alluded to. Drew Hamrick from the Apartment Association of Metro Denver, in Denverites reporting, he pointed to this one law, this state law from 2023 that compels landlords to accept tenants who they otherwise might have rejected based on their income level. So previously, these tenants would have been rejected because it wouldn't have looked like they would have been able to pay the rent. And now this law says landlords have to accept them. And so that's leading to evictions because these people who landlords would have otherwise rejected are now ultimately not able to pay the rent on these apartments. What do you think about that explanation?
I think that we live in a context where housing has gotten so expensive that there are many people in town who don't qualify for it. So if you work a normal middle class job and want to rent an apartment, the odds are that you're going to pay 30, 40, 50% of your income to rent that apartment. And policymakers are left with the choice. Do they require that landlords rent these apartments so that people can have housing and a place to live? Or do they allow the market to kind of underwrite itself and make these determinations and structurally exclude a third of the population, 40% of the population from housing? It's really stark and it's really dire, but this is the market that everyone is operating in. And it's very, very tough for people who are trying to work and raise families.
Well, but it's for certain housing though. Like there's always other options, and this is the way the market works, right? If there isn't a tenant available to ask about a room, then the landlord's going to lower their price. If we have this law, like I understand what he's saying. You know, I think I understand. He's saying we have this law that's saying these landlords have to accept these tenants that are risky. If we didn't force them to do that, then the market would be adjusting on its own and lowering rents, and these people would have an easier time to pay the rent. No one wants to have an eviction. You know, it hurts the landlords too.
Yeah, Paul, I don't actually think that reflects how the market works in Denver or in many parts of the country. Here we have a meaningful supply shortage. Like if you look at the data, there is not enough supply to meet the amount of demand that there is for housing in Denver. And then you add on to that the fact that many of the large multifamily housing providers in Denver work together. There was a bill in the 2025 legislature that would have prohibited algorithmic price fixing, but it was unfortunately vetoed by the governor. What that bill said was that landlords could not use a shared algorithm to set rents. And because that bill was vetoed and because these technologies are in use, along with a number of other structural factors, we are not seeing rents that are the result of market competition. We're seeing rents that are the result of market collusion, of collective price setting. Folks are in the same way using the same eviction law firms and the same downstream services providers to evict folks who can't pay these rents. And so the notion that this is like a fair competitive market with lots of providers offering abundant supply and competition is driving prices down to the point of cost plus, nominal returns to investors is fantasy. Like that is not how the market works. And I think anyone who's rented in Denver, who's seen, a 10, 20% year over year increase in rents can confirm that for you.
Well, from the data though, we're not seeing that. We're seeing rents plateauing, and if anything, going down lately because there has been a glut of construction a few years ago, and those units are coming online. So I just don't understand how the rents going down is happening at the same time that this eviction crisis is happening.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair point, Paul. But I think if you dig into that data a little bit more and you pull back the surface, you see something much different. Tamara Chang at the Colorado Sun had this great analysis, and it drew on data from the Apartment Association. So this is really their data. But it showed that if you're living in a recently built luxury building, think about these buildings along Spear, right? Like really nice buildings built in 2010, rents have gone down if you're at the upper end of the market because we've seen so much construction of luxury buildings. But if you're living in buildings that were built pre-1970, 1970s, 80s, 90s, like these sorts of buildings, rents have either stayed neutral or they've gone up. And so I'm like looking at the data right now. In pre-1970 buildings, which is really your workforce housing, rents have been up 4.5% over the last year. If it's 1970s built construction, it's almost 5%. And so when you look at the market data, folks who struggle to pay rent, who are in the lower end of the market, who are most likely to experience eviction, are still seeing rents go up. And these are our clients. These are the folks we work with. And I think averages here don't really tell the story of what's going on.
This episode is brought to you by MultiPass. Founded by event hosts for event hosts, MultiPass makes it easy to sell tickets and memberships and find local events. MultiPass is proudly based in Denver and deeply rooted in the local event and creative scene. MultiPass is different. It has a unique community chat feature that unlocks post-RSVP. This helps attendees connect and engage. So find your new BFF or just someone who wants to grab dinner before a show. And if you're an events producer, cash flow issues are a thing of the past with MultiPass's same-day payouts. Plus, it has revenue sharing tools already built in, which automatically splits ticket revenue between producers, performers, and promoters. I always say this, MultiPass would have saved me some real headaches back in the day with my DIY organizing. You guys have it easy. MultiPass, they're good. MultiPass is designed to help everyone in the event ecosystem win, not just the platform. Learn more at multipass.com. That's multipass.com. Hey, it's Bree, host of CityCast Denver. At CityCast Denver, our mission is pretty simple. We strive to make our listeners more engaged neighbors because we believe that better neighbors make better cities. Every day, we bring you the local stories, conversations, and tips that help make you feel more connected to Denver and the people and places that make this place feel like home. When you become a CityCast Denver neighbor, you're investing in that very mission. Your support allows us to keep covering the local issues that matter most to our communities, plus highlight the stories that make this city shine. And as a CityCast Denver neighbor, you get really great benefits like ad-free podcasts, a weekly email rounding up all the cool stuff happening that week, invitations to members-only events, and so much more. Like a tote bag, a really cute, cool tote bag that says you're a neighbor. And not that many people are going to have them, so you should sign up to get one. Sign up today, $10 a month or $100 a year. Save a little bit of money. Just go to membership.citycast.fm and join the neighborhood. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm. Sign up today to become a CityCast Denver neighbor. I'll see you there.
Hello again. We're here after the advertising break for another reminder about our fall membership campaign. Now, it's crunch time. We have less than 48 hours. We have 47 and a half hours remaining, even less than when I came to you earlier in the episode.
The minutes are ticking away.
Honestly, they are. And the numbers are not rising as fast as I want. And we need to hit this goal if we're going to be able to, one, stick it to the other cities, but two, make sure that we have the support we need to keep doing this podcast and newsletter and awesome social media content for many more years to come.
Yeah.
There is a direct connection between your support and our success, which really is a service for you. The better we are at this, the more we can do for you.
It's going to be really, really tough on our team if we're not meeting this goal of amount of neighbors we're trying to get. Paul tends to get really emo about us not reaching our goals. And so if we don't have enough neighbors in our neighborhood, it's just going to be, you can expect some really sad content coming up. It's going to be a lot of sad violin music and crying on air.
There could be moping. There probably won't be crying on air. We'll cut
it
out,
but just know it had to be cut out. So,
but honestly, you're not doing this for us. You're doing this for you. This is a thing that you are doing for yourself. You know the CityCast Denver makes your life better. That's why you're here listening right now. So if you want to support us and make sure we stay strong, $10 a month or $100 a year, sign up at membership.citycast.fm. And if you do it before the end of this drive, you get the sweet Neighbors Make Denver tote bag. People are clamoring for this thing.
It's got a reinforced handle.
And I have to say,
I'll tell you that. I saw it. Braided handle. Your produce is not going anywhere, honey.
Just get that sweet tote bag. You get a chance to win the $250 gift card to Bonanno Concepts, and you get the sense of satisfaction of knowing that you made a difference and made Denver a better place to live. Membership.citycast.fm. I want to get back to the policy question because I just find it so interesting that the mayor has chosen this budget to cut for eviction defense when homelessness is such a big priority. And everyone who works on eviction defense says this is the thing that you need to focus on if you want to prevent someone from getting into that cycle of homelessness that makes, caring and supporting them so much more expensive. Why are you so focused on eviction as the moment to support someone who is in need?
Yeah, I think there's a very human reason and there's a economic reason. I think the human reason is that getting evicted is terrible. It's the worst thing that can happen. I mean, you're on the street with your kids, or, if you're really lucky, you have enough money to rent a hotel room and jam everybody into 2 queen beds. And you just do that for years and years, trying to hang on, keep your kids in school, keep your job. It's unimaginably hard for the families to go through it. And it's undignified. It's unfair. And it's not how our housing market or our economy should work. In terms of the economic reasons, all the data, all the research suggests that eviction is the departure point for homelessness. There are dozens of studies. I was reading them this morning to prepare, out of Yale, out of Harvard, out of Notre Dame, out of the University of Texas, like all over the country, that show that eviction is the predicate condition for both sheltered and unsheltered homelessness. And once someone enters sheltered and unsheltered homelessness, the cost of getting them back into housing and providing them services is tens of thousands of dollars. And so, we're kind of saving money in the short term up front to pay a lot more in the long term as we enter people into these different kinds of homelessness.
Well, what about the predicate condition of eviction, though? No one signs a lease thinking, I might get evicted, in 6 months. What happens? No one goes into it planning to lose their job or to have a drastic family crisis or some terrible change in their livelihood. A conservative might argue we should be focusing on jobs so people can help themselves and help their families and be able to pay their rent.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I think that's a really important point in all this. I would actually dispute the frame of the question. I think a number of our clients have nowhere to go. There is not affordable housing available. And so they may not be anticipating eviction, but they're like, gritting their teeth and signing that damn lease. And they're saying like, this is going to be 50% of my income, and I'm barely going to make my car payment. I'm barely going to be able to buy gas. I'm barely going to be able to pay for food. And if anything goes wrong, this agreement is not going to work for me, but it is my only option. This is the only place I can get housing. And so I've got to sign it. I've got no choice at all. Tell
me more about that. Because I always think about like the suburbs, or I think about, people can always move cities. You can always move to a cheaper market. This is another option people have. If you're not feeling like there's a path forward in Denver, you hear about people getting priced out and leaving all the time. Like, that's sad because it's a community being broken up, but it's also someone making a choice that's for their own future.
I think that's one way of thinking about it. I think, what we hear from our clients is one, like, the suburbs can be a little bit cheaper, but if you're renting, these prices feel pretty uniform. And if you look across the statewide data, that's, largely the case. Two, though, it's really hard. I mean, I know you're offering that argument kind of in the spirit of discussion and conversation, but, you're saying to someone, the housing market doesn't work here. So leave your job, leave the school that your kids are in, leave your family behind, leave your community behind. Move to a place where you don't know anybody at all and start living there. And I think we need to ask the question, like, is the point of the housing market to provide housing so that people can live and flourish? Or is the point of the housing market to extract as much money as it possibly can from renters, forcing people to make these impossible decisions? And I think we would argue that the point of housing is to give people a place and a home and allow them to work jobs and be in a community and raise their families. And not to just squeeze as much as it possibly can financially from those families.
So tell me about the future. Like, I'm thinking about this funding cut. I'm thinking about Trump. Obviously, I don't know how his new policies are affecting the work you all are doing, or how you feel about that. What do you think the future looks like? Are we going to set another record for evictions next year in Denver?
I think absent dramatic changes to the housing market, you will continue to see record high eviction filings, probably in line with what we saw in 2024 and what we're seeing in 2025, or a little bit higher. On the federal level, the Trump administration has expressed a desire to cut federal vouchers. For those who don't know, federal vouchers are kind of ongoing financial support for a rental unit. When you take those away or you reduce those, the people who receive them probably enter homelessness or they face eviction. And I think as federal funding walks back from the space, counties and states are going to be asked to do more and more, and they're just not positioned to do that. At the state level, locally, the impact of Tabor, I'm sure you guys have had that conversation on this podcast many times. I think similarly with the city, the mayor is reckoning with tremendously hard choices and trying to do a very tough thing in a very tough time. And I don't think policymakers have a lot of options here. And so I do think this problem is going to get worse. And absent like a real regulatory intervention on eviction, I think we're going to continue to see this problem.
Well, I know that the budget process for the city is, we're still in the middle of it. City council is going to have to approve this stuff at the end of the month. Are you working on that? Are you lobbying to get this money back in the 2026 budget?
Yeah, I think we are going to advocate for more funds in 2026. And we've started that work It feels like this $9 million carryover is happening. Obviously, there's a $3 million addition to that, but we would like to see more money. We also recognize, though, that the city has very limited funds and that this directly competes with other programs and priorities that are really valuable. And again, the mayor and the city council have very tough choices to make here. So we're going to be doing our advocacy, but I think we're doing it from the posture of and the spirit of all of us living in a very constrained moment and recognizing that the city is being asked to stretch very, very far in a moment where they don't have a lot of resources.
I want to wrap up by just like going back to something you were talking about earlier, the rent algorithm. RealPage is the company. We've talked about it a lot on the show. The veto from Polis was very interesting. I wonder if that's going to come back in the spring. But it's this like AI technology these landlords are using. There's such a power imbalance between the big landlord companies and the tenants. I wonder if you've heard any stories from the people you worked with or just like following this world in Denver of renters trying to, or like leveling the playing field in any way. Any inspirational stories for folks who are struggling?
I think the bill was really inspiring, and I hope it comes back, and I hope the legislators who worked on it do it again. Unfortunately, I don't think there's much inspiring here, and I hate to end on this note, but we have seen tremendous acquisition and consolidation in the rental market. That's reinforced through the Apartment Association, which is an industry association that obviously you've spoken to in the past. This algorithm guides everyone's prices. The Biden White House CEA determined that in Denver, the use of this algorithm was adding, independent of all other factors, $1,600 a year in additional rent. We know that an increase of just $100 in rent drives a 9% increase in homelessness. And so we're really in this world where most of the multifamily housing in Denver has been captured by out-of-state investors. There is demonstrated collusion on pricing, and we know what that pricing is doing to homelessness. So this is not a confusing or an unclear story. And until we're willing to take action against those technologies and force these landlords to compete against each other rather than cooperating, we're going to continue to see the prices we're seeing and the downstream eviction activity.
Well, just to clarify, I think this White House report, this is from the former administration, the Biden administration, they said that RealPage increased rents in Denver by approximately $136 per month in 2023. And I think about 45% of Denver landlords use this service is the last data I heard on that, which is a pretty big chunk, to your point. But just wanted to make sure we got those numbers in here. Zach Newman, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Paul. Great to be on. Appreciate the chance to talk with you about this issue.
Hey, here we are at the end of the show, which means it's now just over 47 hours from the end of our fall membership campaign, and I'm here with one last plea for your support. It's now or never, people. We need your support. We need you to join and become a member today in order to support this CityCast thing, to keep going strong, and to make sure we can keep giving you the stories, the conversation, the personality, the character that connects you with your city, that makes this a better place for all of us to live. Now, you don't have to just take my word for it. We've been hearing from folks all week who are signing up, like this member right here. Olivia, producer Olivia, is back with me. Do you want to read this great comment we got from Sarah F?
Yeah. Sarah F says, local journalism is at risk, and I personally have gotten a lot of value listening to how you cover the local beat while engaging in civic and thoughtful debate. Plus, it's a great combo of promoting fun and local events. Whoa! Thanks, Sarah.
Have you ever felt seen like Sarah F sees?
Have you ever felt like
do?
Sarah F is holding your hand metaphorically right now?
That's such a nice comment, Sarah. Thank you so much for writing in. And I just have to say, because it literally happened today, but after I got off that call with Zach Newman, that you all just heard, you know what he said? He said, thank you for asking the hard questions, because no one actually wants to talk about these issues. And you asked the hard questions, and we actually got to talk about the really tricky parts of this. That doesn't happen a lot. What we're doing right now is special. So seriously, join now, membership.citycast.fm. If you care about this project, if you want to be a bigger part of this community, if you want all the great perks, if you want to come to the member meetups, membership.citycast.fm. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell your landlord about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. And I want to just share a special thank you to all of the new members who have joined during our fall membership campaign. Devin M., Jenny H., Kirsten E., Nathan M., Mindy E., Jack S., Nick J., Xenia R., Brittany K., John C., Kate Z. Special shout out to you, Kate, a really kind person and a brilliant ceramics artist. But also shout out to Molly M., Jamie T., and Kim GW, who all just joined our membership program. And I look forward to getting to know better at our next member meetup. You can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Denver neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you then.
Please, 48 hours left. I need to see your name rolling in the inbox. I need to see your name. Please tap in. CityCast Nation, tap in.